In a Pokemon tournament, there can only be one winner, and in Lycanroc's case, he happens to be going up against his greatest rival. A battle so important, it proves who's the best rock-type Pokemon on the entire island. But how did it even get to this point? And to understand all this, we gotta take a look at Lycanroc's rise, dark downfall, and potentially one of the greatest comebacks in the entire Pokemon series. And this all takes place in the Alola region before Lycanroc was even a Lycanroc, when he was just a Rockruff. When Ash first made it to the islands, he met Professor Kukui and a Rockruff that would hang around him all day. At first, Ash thought that Rockruff was Professor Kukui's Pokemon, but he lets him know that Rockruff is actually a wild Pokemon that just hangs around them all day. Rockruff gravitated pretty quickly towards Ash and Pikachu, and they started all vibing pretty well. But one day when they came back home, they realized Rockruff was missing, and when they finally found him, he was completely injured inside the house. They rushed over to Rockruff to heal him immediately, and when they tried asking Rockruff what was wrong or what even happened, he didn't want to tell them at all, and he just wanted to keep it to himself. Professor Kukui wasn't going to let that one slide, and he told everyone to gather around the TV because he actually has security cameras which caught Rockruff sneaking out in 4K. Now, Rockruff must have had Saul Goodman or Jayoma as his lawyer because even though they had crystal clear footage, he didn't tell them anything and still acted like he was innocent. So, Ash and Professor Kukui had a plan. They told Rockruff that they're going to be heading out and he's going to be home alone tonight, but little did Rockruff know, Ash and Professor Kukui were actually camping outside the house looking at the security camera so that they'd be able to follow Rockruff to figure out what's going on. When they looked at the camera, they saw Rockruff getting into a fight with one of the plushies, but then the rocks on his neck started glowing and he ran outside, dipping into the forest. When the gang ended up following him, they made their way over to a mountain where two Lycanrocs were howling at the moon, gathering around a bunch of Pokemon. And at first glance, you'd think that they're just hosting a big Pokemon meeting for everyone to gather around, but no, they're actually hosting a Pokemon fight club where they all gather and box it out. And you may think I'm exaggerating about the severity of this fight club, but no, all these Pokemon gather around big and small and they all want smoke. And to be honest, this is not something I thought I'd see on my Pokemon anime bingo card. Ash wanted to put a stop to this because he thought Rockruff was in danger, but Professor Kukui just said to let him cook and let's see what's actually going on. We see this Magmar that is absolutely bodying everyone, and Rockruff steps up to the plate, challenging him to a 1v1, and they go at it. They were going neck and neck, trading blows, and it actually looked like Rockruff had a decent chance at winning, but Magmar hit Rockruff with a pretty sly sneak attack, and Rockruff ended up losing the fight. Even though Rockruff lost, it was pretty easy to tell that his favorite category of music is murder music, because even after all this, he was excited to watch all the violence that was going on here. Once everyone went home, Rockruff ended up encountering Ash in the forest, and Ash let Rockruff know that he actually watched the whole thing, and he's pretty proud that Rockruff wants to become a strong Pokemon, and he's actually willing to train Rockruff so he's able to take down that Magmar. Rockruff is pretty happy to hear this, and he accepts Ash's training, and they get to work. So, like any good training arc, you gotta cue the montage music. How could I make a man out of you? Be a man. We must be swift as a coursing river. If I keep going, I'll get a strike. No, I seriously would though. So at the end of this training arc, Ash and Rockruff ended up bonding a lot, and Rockruff ended up learning how to use the move Rock Throw, which he thought would be very useful when he goes to rematch the Magmar. Rotom Dex also comes over and lets everybody know that the look in Rockruff's eyes is pure determination, and he's not too sure what evolutionary path he'll take, the Dusk Form or the Midday Form. With all that being said and done, it was finally fight night, and Rockruff and the gang pulled up to verse Magmar again, and when the battle started, it was looking pretty good for Rockruff, but then Magmar hit Rockruff with a surprise attack, so Rockruff started charging up his brand new move Rock Throw, but Magmar decided to break the rules of anime by interrupting Rockruff's charged attack with the flamethrower. That didn't really phase Rockruff though, and he ended up finally charging up his new move Rock Throw and knocking out the Magmar, gaining the respect of every single person in the fight club. After all that, Ash was so proud of Rockruff since their training paid off and he was finally able to defeat a super strong opponent. Professor Kukui even suggested that Rockruff actually joins Ash's team since they seem to form such a great connection. And with that, the rest was history. Rockruff accepted the invite to join Ash's team and they became the best of friends. But little did everybody know that this was only the beginning of Rockruff's story. In future episodes, Rockruff was training with the rest of the group and they hear there's a pretty powerful Lycanroc trainer in town. When they end up going to town, they realize that it's actually Lily's brother Gladion that has the night form of Lycanroc. Ash ends up challenging Gladion to a battle and they end end up going over to the beach and having their first battle between Rockruff and Midnight Lycanroc. And to be honest, even calling this a battle is a stretch because Rockruff was getting completely bodied by Lycanroc. He was chasing him down and fully outspeeding him, but Team Rocket ended up interrupting the battle, doing their usual shenanigans, capturing Lycanroc, and Rockruff ended up saving the day. Doing all this, Rockruff ended up gaining the respect of Lycanroc, and Gladion even said that he'll end up fighting Rockruff and Ash again as rivals, and they'll actually finish the battle to figure out who's the true winner. Later down the line on Ash and Rockruff's journey, they ended up challenging Olivia, the rock-type island trial, and her ace Pokemon was Lycanroc, midday form to be exact, and this lighted a fire inside of Rockruff. So much to the point where Rockruff started going feral and bit Ash's hand because he just wanted to battle. When the trial finally began, it was a double battle between Lycanroc and Probopass versus Rockruff and Rowlet. Rockruff and Rowlet tried to do a group attack to make the battle quick, but Lycanroc did not care and just used one move and blasted them away, and then Probopass put them in an open domain, trapping them. And then Rowlet actually used his brain and picked up Rockruff and flew out of it, and this is one of the few instances where I see the Pokemon actually working together in a double battle. Lycanroc wasn't gonna let this slide though, and he jumped up in the air and knocked their ass right back down, and this got Rockruff pretty mad, where he started raging out on the Rowlet of all people. Olivia said she wasn't done yet and used her Z move to summon a boulder from the sky to crush the two Pokemon. They narrowly were able to escape thanks to Rowlet, and Rockruff had a plan. He snuck up on Lycanroc and bit onto him and told Ash to use Rowlet's Z move to just nuke the entire place and end the battle. And this is just taken straight out of an episode of Dragon Ball. Rowlet's Z move actually ended up working, and they knocked out Probopass, but Lycanroc and Rockruff were still alive, and Rockruff called an ISO against Lycanroc and didn't want Rowlet to fight, but Rowlet didn't really take that seriously and still wanted to help out, so he started to join in, but then Rockruff completely crashed out and knocked out his own teammate, saying that this is his 1v1. And to be honest, Rockruff seriously needs a therapist because this is like strike 3 of his anger issues. Ash was pretty shocked about this, and he tried to calm down Rockruff, and he ended up listening to Ash and using their signature move Rock Throw to end up defeating the Lycanroc and defeating the Island Trial. They ended up being given a Rock type Z Crystal for Rockruff to be able to use, and everybody said that it seemed like Rockruff was pretty close to evolving. But everyone was really wondering, why was Rockruff continuously acting out and hurting his own teammates? Later that night, Rockruff was pretty bummed out about this. He truly didn't understand why he was getting mad at every single person. He couldn't control this anger, so he snuck away and he went out to the beach to start training. While training, he ended up encountering Tapu Lele, and at first this seemed like a very nice encounter, but then she put him into his domain expansion and started beating the living hell out of Rockruff. Once Rockruff got defeated for practically no reason, Ash ended up finding him on the beach, and Rockruff was very angry at Ash for some reason and didn't even want his help. It got so bad to the point where Rockruff tackled Ash and bit him, then ran away. Everyone was concerned about what was going on with Rockruff, so they sent out a search party to look for him, and while Rockruff was roaming the mountains, he ended up falling down a cliff into a river. He luckily got saved by Olivia's midday Lycanroc form, and the night form of Lycanroc also pulled up too to try to help Rockruff out. They ended up working together trying to heal Rockruff and get him back to safety, but when they were at the top of the canyon, Tapu Lele pulled up again and then used Psychic on the night form of Lycanroc and also attacked the midday form of Lycanroc. Both of them were so confused on what was going on, and they tried to fight Tapu Lele, but since she's a legendary, they were obviously losing. Ash ended up making it to where all the commotion was happening, and Tapu Lele ended up using her signature move Draining Kiss on the midday form of Lycanroc, midnight form of Lycanroc, and Ash, knocking them all out. And then Tapu Lele did the unthinkable. She ended up channeling all of their energy into Rockruff, waking him up and fully healing him, and when Rockruff was awake, his eyes started glowing orange. He was staring at the sun, and it was going through a rare phenomenon where it turns green, and Rockruff evolved. Because Rockruff ended up taking the energy from the two different forms and staring at a unique sun, he ended up evolving into the Dusk Form of Lycanroc, a form that has never been seen before in the Alola region. With all that being said, everything seemed perfect. Lycanroc evolved into a completely unique form, and everyone was so happy for it. Lycanroc was even happy to be a part of Ash's team and loved his trainer so much. But little did everybody know, the biggest problems for Lycanroc were only just beginning. Because let's be serious for a minute, it seems like anytime this Pokemon faces any adversity, he just seems to crash out. So I had to hit up my boy Wheezy to diagnose Lycanroc with whatever problem he seems to have.
Oh, he developed problems, alright. What's the word, y'all? It's Wheezy, and I'm gonna walk you through these said problems. Thank you for the mic, Thunder. Hey, viewers' discretion is advised. Let's just cut to the chase. The bitch done thought he was a furfrou. This dude Lycanroc evolved and forgot who he was. That special ass orange Dusk Form and all the glazing he got from it went straight to his head. He even had Rotom phone confused, like, a rock type that enjoys baths, who the hell is he feeling like? And don't get me wrong, grooming yourself ain't a bad thing. That's W cleanliness. But a rock type dog that likes water, something is fishy. And what about when things aren't so squeaky clean, huh? Like, peep this. Litten walks by, right? And Ash startles him into accidentally knocking over a tub of water directly onto Lycanroc. Everyone thinks it's chill at first, but as soon as Lycanroc realizes, oh my god, bro started tripping. Ew, rabies. You could have sworn they not teammates, bruh. He wanted blood. Shit escalated so fast that Ash had to step in the middle and they straight barged into each other. I'm like, god damn, over some fur? Now, Lycanroc was obviously out of line here, but I just wrote it off as some banter among teammates. Sometimes emotions rile up and things happen. Until later on that day, Ash encounters Gladion and is introducing his newly evolved Lycanroc like,
look at him, he's not a day form or a night form, so I called him Dusk Form. Isn't he pretty?
And Lycanroc's like, oh, Ash, you reminded me how utterly special and better than everyone I am. God, I'm so happy you're not one of those ugly normie forms, especially the night one. Yuck! I know Gladion's Lycanroc was pissed, but later on when they decided to battle, it was cool to pass the reins to Silvally for the 1v1 versus Ash's Lycanroc. That Lycanroc, what do you think of him? Fuck that pretty boy! Hey man, I can't blame him. The battle starts with Lycanroc using Rockruff, which is countered by Silvally's double hit. Gladion then showed why he's a real battler and used Swords Dance to double his attack before launching a Crush Claw. Lycanroc barely dodges that shit before getting in close to use Bite. And for him, this Silvally has really been in the lab because he dodged and weaved it before sending Lycanroc back. Ash then upped the pressure a little bit by using a Celorock, which got him back a bit. Then the two of them decided to brute force hit for hit with Lycanroc's Bite and Silvally's double hit. And this is where the unthinkable happens. Lycanroc gets overpowered and gets absolutely launched into a nearby lake. Lycanroc slowly gets up like, motherfucker, oh, I need to learn Swords Dance. Wait, what's this? I'm ugly! Oh my god, I'm hideous! Oh, my beautiful orange mane, yuck! You. So we're playing dirty, huh? Okay. Ash is then like, hey, glad you could still battle. Use Accelerator. Shut the fuck up. It's personal now. And he started seeing red. No finesse, no strategy, just hard-headedness. Launching attacks wildly and just getting easily slapped back. Ash even had to step in and try to calm him down to little success. It wasn't until Nebby the Cosmog sound waves from crying produced so much force that it finally dried off his fur and calmed him down. A little bit weird, a little bit of a cop-out, but okay. This is the shit that really blows my mind, bro. You do all this bitching and moaning. Oh, my fur, it's dirty, my aura, owie. And then after the fight gets restarted, you get clapped under 30 seconds. Holy. Now this was embarrassing, but at the very least, it was kind of an inconsequential battle in the middle of nowhere. And he never did it in an island trial until he did it in an island trial. I mean, come on, bruh. It took one cool mud slap from Nanu's Crocodile to just dirty the hell out of him. And it was the same thing. Crash out, not listen, get your ass beat like the whiny little brat. Oh my god, bruh. Yes, it cost him the battle, and yes, it caused Ash to start crying. I can't even look at this thing no more, bruh. Thunder, take the mic back, bruh. I'm out of here.
So from Wheezy's analysis, it's pretty clear to say that Lycanroc is a D1 crash out that probably has anger issues and most definitely has abandonment issues, but that's okay because Ash was trying to work through this with Lycanroc. Ash ends up bringing his entire team to the top of a mountain trying to just figure out what's going on and so that they can all get stronger, and they end up meeting Tapu Bulu. They end up trying to ask Tapu Bulu what's going on with Lycanroc, but he was pretty useless and just kind of stared at them. Ash and the gang continued their training, and then it started raining, and Rowlet was a little clumsy and ended up falling in mud, getting it all over Lycanroc. And oh my goodness, the same thing started happening again. Lycanroc started to crash out because he didn't like being seen as a dirty Pokemon, feeling ugly and feeling worthless. Basically, in Lycanroc's mind, if he doesn't look the best he can possibly be 24/7, it's not possible for anyone to accept him the way he is because he's an outlier. He's a completely brand new form and nobody gets him. But Ash ended up showing how mature of a trainer he actually was because he ended up having a one-on-one conversation with Lycanroc while he was mad, letting Lycanroc know that no matter how he looks, dirty or clean, saying that he'll always like him and he values him ever since he was a Rockruff. And with Lycanroc hearing these words for the first time in his life, he ended up calming down and being able to tame this Red Eyes form that he has, being able to control his power. They were even able to fight Tapu Bulu after this to test their strength, and they did pretty good. In this fight, Lycanroc even got dirty, and he didn't get mad at all because he just thought about the words Ash said, locked in, and was able to continue fighting. Because of all this, Ash felt confident enough to rematch the island trial that they originally lost, and Ash was only allowed to use one Pokemon while they would be versing 3. So the one Pokemon Ash decided to choose was Lycanroc, and he did not make a mistake. In this fight, we also learned that Lycanroc can willingly go into his Red Eyes form when he's mad. This is basically the equivalent of a Sharingan that Lycanroc has. He can just turn on and get a crazy power boost. And because of all this, they ended up winning the island trial, and they ended up even being gifted the Lycanian Z Crystal, and this is a super rare shard that lets them use a custom Z move, where Lycanroc gets a new signature move called Splintered Stone Shard, and the animation on this move is always cool. Ash and Lycanroc were feeling pretty confident up to this point. They continued traveling on their journey, and they even felt that they were powerful enough to challenge Gladion to a rematch. When they went into this fight, it was looking pretty even. Lycanroc went into a Sharingan form and started dodging a bunch of attacks and got some good hits in, but they were still unfortunately no match for the Midnight form of Lycanroc, because he ended up ending the battle by using his own Z move and knocking out Lycanroc. Even though that they lost, they weren't really that sad, and they said that they'll have their final battle in the Pokemon Alola League tournament. And they definitely didn't lie, because this tournament was right around the corner. When they entered, Ash and Gladion continued going really far in the tournament, and they ended up facing each other in the semi-finals. All their Pokemon were down for the count, and they were only left with one Pokemon each, Lycanroc versus Lycanroc. Everything here was on the line, because whoever wins this match would become the Pokemon champion of the Alola region and would be able to face Master Royale in the exhibition match to prove who is the strongest. When the battle began, they wasted no time. Lycanroc activated his Sharingan, and they both decided to simultaneously use Stone Edge. When the dust cleared, the Dusk Form of Lycanroc used Tackle onto the Midnight form of it, but the Midnight form used Counter and knocked back Ash's Lycanroc. Midnight form ended up using Stone Edge again, but Lycanroc ended up dodging it. He kept dodging and went in to use Bite, but he saw that Midnight form was charging up Counter, so they waited a second, but this is exactly what Gladion wanted, and they hit Lycanroc head on with a Stone Edge. After this, you would literally think that Gladion only had 2 moves in his kit, Counter and Stone Edge, because they kept spamming the same move over and over again. Ash ended up realizing this, so he told Lycanroc to jump over the Stone Edge and hit the Midnight form of Lycanroc head on, and it actually ended up working. Or so we thought, because Gladion was planning for all of this and told Lycanroc to use Counter, and he ended up dodging to the side and getting a direct punch on Ash's Lycanroc right into the stomach, sending him flying. And it looked really bad for Ash's Lycanroc. He was really low on HP, and both of them were at their limit. It continued going back and forth, going blow for blow, and then Gladion finally decided to use a brand new move with his Lycanroc, and they used Outrage, a super powerful attack, being able to break all the way through Ash's Lycanroc Stone Edge. And the second he was about to make it to Lycanroc, he ended up getting confused, because this is a byproduct of using the move Outrage. Ash's Lycanroc ended up trying to use this as an opportunity to attack, but the Midnight form ended up biting itself to snap itself out of confusion and countered Ash's Lycanroc, ending up knocking him right onto the ground. Ash knew they were getting low and they needed to end the battle quickly, so Lycanroc used all of his energy to use one final attack on Gladion's Midnight Lycanroc, but he still ended up using the move Counter, and Lycanroc fell for it, getting hit. This is way too much, since Counter is a move that makes you do double the damage when you are hit, and Ash's Lycanroc couldn't take it anymore, until they did the unthinkable. Ash told Lycanroc to counter the counter, which would be ×4 the original damage, and Lycanroc ended up succeeding, knocking out the Midnight form of Lycanroc. Because of all of this, Ash's Lycanroc's goal was completed. He was able to defeat his rival at the highest possible tournament ever, making them Alola League champions. Ash was so proud of his team because he's never won a tournament before, and even the exhibition match against Professor Kukui, Lycanroc was a big help, being able to get a devastating blow on Incineroar, who is the ace of Professor Kukui's team and definitely one of the strongest Pokemon in the entire room. And if Lycanroc never got this specific hit off, they would have never won the battle, but I explained that in another video. Overall, after the Alola tournament, in Pokemon Journeys, Lycanroc appears from time to time, but doesn't really have the pivotal role that he once had during the Alola saga. In the end though, it's pretty safe to say that Lycanroc is one of Ash's best rock-type Pokemons and has one of the coolest revenge stories in the Pokemon anime. So if you want to hear me yap more about Pokemon, click one of the 2 videos that are currently on your screen, and please subscribe because it would mean the absolute world to me. See y'all next time.